Okay, Clubby's got his camera. Got to do some work now. Come on, little Honda. But you know what, Clubby, I'm kind of...
Welcome to my review of the Honda CRF300 Rally. This review comes in two parts. Part 1 is my first impressions of the bike while riding it when I was helping Andrew Clubb, the editor of Australian Adventure Bike magazine, to get some photos of the bike. The second part is a more formal and structured review of the bike and is based on a 400-kilometre loop consisting of Freeway, Blacktop, Twin Trail and some technical single trail. It's a great adventure loop with a wide variety of conditions and a great test for adventure bikes. So let's get started.
And Clubby's decided the first 50 metres I do on this shiny red and white and blue bike, absolutely immaculate, is a trials track.
All right, well come on Ricky, here's your Dakar machine. Let's climb aboard, son. Size it up, mate, come on.
Don't turn left, that's the...
No, don't go over the left side of the track, mate. Keep right. Wait till you feel that suspension. Plush. Plush is the word, Ricky.
Suspension. You see that famous... look, I'm shaking as I get on. It's brand new.
Look, you can even switch the ABS off to the rear. What more do you want in the dirt?
Oh, God.
It's little, isn't it? You can put both feet on the ground.
Oh, it's a trampoline.
Yes, and it's soft, mate. Look at that.
Holy snapping duck
no,
manure.
easy, son, easy.
Woo.
Easy. I can't adjust any clickers because there aren't any clickers, mate.
I felt like I was on a trampoline.
Mind the rear wheel there, you're nearly using all the travel. In fact, you are using all the travel.
It's like a pogo stick.
And I'm sorry, Ricky, I haven't got any adjustments for you, fork or shock, other than spring preload at the back, mate. That's it.
But you know, the little bike that, the small capacity bike that really shook the adventure world, the Yamaha WR250R, you know, still needed, once you bought it, it still needed suspension work to get the best out of it. And at the end of the day, what I'm hunting for now is just the frame dynamics are right, the steering geometry is right, and the suspension to me at the price of this, what's $8,500?
8.5-ish on the road, I think,
Well,
mate, under $9,000. It's amazing value for a 300cc.
Again, my old saying is spend $1,000 on suspension and Bob's your uncle. You know, you might get something really, really special here. All right, let's cross our fingers. Turn it on. ABS. All right.
Straight into some technical trail, and the clutch action is incredibly light but gives good feedback and control and allows me to accurately and consistently put power to the ground. This was very apparent when I took the bike on a series of tricky rock ledges that are awkwardly spaced with no room for error. If you get it wrong, you stall or fall. In this technical stuff, seat height was low and the bike felt light and it was easy to manoeuvre if I got stuck. There is many an adventure bike that has been hooked up on these series of rock ledges, but not the Honda. It's got excellent ground clearance.
You know, that 6th gear on this bike is really good. It's really tall and yeah, it's got no pull in it, but certainly can get you up to highway speeds. Holy snapping duck manure. Oh well, the electrics work on the bike. You couldn't hit that much harder. Yeah, so the 5th gear is the doing gear. Gets you up to speed, keeps you humming along. I think it's really clever of Honda to, you know, make that 6th gear a lot taller. Makes the bike very useful for Australian and American conditions. You know, all of us, I think, have to either go on Freeway or Blacktop for at least probably, you know, 50 to 100 k's to get into the dirt. So it's a very useful addition to this bike over the 250 model. Yeah, the dashboard is simple, but it conveys all the information you need to know very succinctly. Easy to read in this dappled light, easy to read in sunlight, does the job. The fairing's doing what it's supposed to do. I mean, I'm feeling it. It's punching the wind. It's almost going over my head, the wind there. Certainly there's no helmet buffeting, and it's got some little winglets, if you like, that are just pushing the wind around me. Yeah, that's a great little addition to this, and you know, particularly in Australian conditions where we have long transport miles in the dirt. And the engine, I guess the engine dynamic is it's very doughy down the bottom, you know, but you get it to 6,000 revs and you start revving it up, and yeah, the engine comes alive. You've really got to work the gears to get the best out of the bike. But having said that, at 100 k's, you know, it's sitting on 6, which is just coming into the sweet spot of the power band. So, you know, just playing with your gears, sneaking between 4th and 5th, getting your momentum up. I'm going to be really interested to see how it sits on highway use tomorrow, because it's going to do a heap of kilometres at, you know, 100 k's to 110. I find myself tending to sit down. Oh, wow.
Considering how undersprung the bike was for my weight, the bike responded to this next section in a surprisingly good way. Clubby and I were clipping along at a fair trail pace. Yes, I did have to ease the bike into the erosion mounts and obstacles, but surprisingly, not once did the suspension bottom out with a thud. I was also impressed with the handling and steering of the bike. It was generous and predictable for the rider and responsive to rider input. My first day of impressions was complete, and I've walked away with a mixed bag of views about this bike. I'm looking forward to tomorrow when I take it on a 400 kilometre adventure loop and look more closely and systematically at what this bike brings to the small bore adventure market.
The first step in getting this 400 k's underway, go and get some fuel and see how much the little girl eats during the day. I was just looking at the kilometre average, the fuel economy, according to the last 250 k's we did, or 242 k's, and it was 31.3 kilometres per litre, which gives this bike a very good range with the standard tank.
With bike filled, I head straight into a traffic jam. Welcome to my gateway to adventure. A half an hour of suburban traffic, followed by 40 minutes to an hour of freeway, and ultimately onto blacktop country roads before I get anywhere near the dirt. And for many throughout the world, that's exactly the same start to their adventure day. A good dual sporter needs to handle these conditions well, because for many, their bike will be used for the commute during the weekday and only adventure on the weekends. The 300 easily copes with suburban traffic. The engine is willing and the power is very usable, and if needed you can easily accelerate faster than general traffic with strong power developed between 6,000 and 8,000 revs.
I'm in the doing gear at the moment, 5th gear at 5,000 revs. I'm going to slip it up to overdrive now. We're doing 4,500 revs, maybe 4.8 at 80 k's.
The bike feels light with a low seat height and comfortable seating position. It feels agile when you need to weave through that traffic congestion. At faster speed, the fairing is much appreciated.
This is an overdrive, and the 6th gear is keeping up with traffic. It'll be interesting how it goes up this hill. I'm just going to keep it in 6th. Yeah, I've got to feed it a bit more fuel to maintain the speed, but it's doing alright.
The indicators, brake and headlight are bright in the daylight. An added safety feature is that both the front indicators remain on at all times.
Okay, so we're taking it up to 110. It's just sitting under 7,000 revs. And it feels like it's doing it quite comfortably. There's other 250s I've ridden, and at this speed the piston feels like it's going to belt you in the groin. You know, the little engine is working, you know, a lot harder with higher revs. Okay, let's see how it goes to climb out of the Hawkesbury River. We're in 6th. I think the bike's in a sweet spot. I think it's going to comfortably eat this up. Yeah, it's just at 6.8. Yeah, look at that. It's actually maintaining speed in the overdrive. Certainly keeping up with traffic. Not even a hint of having to return to 5th gear to give it a punch along. No, that's a great overdrive. Congratulations, Honda. You've done it well there.
High-speed transport, be it on freeway, country roads or endless dirt roads, is a key feature of Australian adventure riding. It's irrelevant if the bike is of small or large capacity. At the end of the day, it needs to do these types of miles comfortably. The 300's useful overdrive, great protective fairing and comfortable seated position is a real strength of this bike, and one that will be appreciated by Australian riders.
So it's worth having a chat about what entry-level adventure bikes are all about. At the end of the day, most of the riding in Australia is on roads like this. Just simple country roads. And there's so much enjoyment to be had going down one of my favourites, which is this one, Murray's Run Road. I just chill out. I'm in a happy place when I'm going along here. You know what? The CRF300 Rally will just eat up these sorts of miles in standard fare. You don't need any modifications to enjoy this stuff. You just chill out. And that's what entry level's about. You don't have to come into this corner hot. You don't have to blast out of it. Just tootle around it. And the bike does that safely and efficiently.
But there are a lot of you out there who see this bike very differently. You want to challenge yourself and the bike, be it big adventure miles in the outback carrying a decent amount of luggage, or taking on more challenging trails and keeping up with your mates at a decent trail speed, or possibly all three. This next section of the test that I've taken many bikes on gives me a reasonable insight into whether this bike has the credentials for adventure, where it sits in the hierarchy of adventure bikes, and what needs to be done to get it over the line for hardcore adventure riding.
I think it's time to take the ABS off the back. Oh yeah, it just doesn't give me enough braking. So that's a good little feature with the Honda. You just stop the bike, and we press this button, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bang, ABS is off for the rear wheel only. Alright, well normally I would have been standing now for about 1 kilometre, so I'll give it a run. Yeah, it's just a little bit small for me, that's all. Like I just need a little bit more height in the bars through bar risers and probably a higher handlebar. It's hardly ideal for my height at 178 centimetres tall or 5 foot 10 inches in the old money. Yeah, I've got to say this Honda suspension is a bit of an enigma. I'm expecting it to do things and it's just not doing it. It's actually performing much better than I anticipated. Here we go. Maybe I'm, as Clubby says too, ghosting it a bit, just so it doesn't take the full impact of my weight. Nah, there, okay. That time I bottomed the suspension, but you know the good thing, it didn't end with a thud. I knew I did it, but it didn't end with a thud. The 21-inch wheel is excellent in sand. I like my Pirellis on the front and rear, that'd certainly make a difference, but hey, standard tyres straight out of the showroom are good for this work. I'm going from third to fourth. And yeah, you can really get humming. The gear ratios are very well linked to the output of the engine, particularly when it comes alive between about 6 and 8.
This track, taken at a reasonably fast trail pace, highlighted the shortcomings of the suspension for my weight. The bike is undersprung for me and my riding style, with springs designed to suit lighter riders from about 50 to 70 kilograms. It's tolerable riding it undersprung. Just ride the bike more slowly. Use techniques such as ghosting to assist the suspension in coping with the bigger hits. The disappointment is that the bike's handling and engine deserve a higher grade suspension package. That said, I pushed the bike at reasonable speed over a small erosion mound to see how the bike would respond, and I was pleasantly surprised. Yes, the suspension did bottom out, but it didn't end with a thud, and the bike remained in control and didn't excessively bounce.
This next section is a little hill climb, not too technical, but I guess for me it tests out the relevance of the gears to the engine and the relationship of both. Because if you want to be able to maintain momentum to get up this, at a reasonable pace. Okay, let's see how we go. That's second. Yeah, I did it well. There's more torque there than you think. That was in third gear there. Yeah, we're only a short distance from the bike, you can barely hear it. Which is a good thing. Mind you, that muffler probably weighs 8 kilos, I'd say. I noticed there's a couple of good aftermarket ones around, but again, you get noise, and I got to tell you, if there's one thing that kills our sport is noise. Well, a little bit more aware now of the ABS on the front. It's far more noticeable than other brands I've been riding lately. It's not as sophisticated, but it does the job. Woo! God, now that was a thud.
With the dirt sections complete, I head back out onto the Blacktop for some twisting roads, and the kilometres are piling up, and the fuel gauge is telling me I don't have much fuel left. Before I leave my lunch stop, that just happens to have fuel, I do some calculations.
My tummy's full, showing empty, almost empty, 256 k's. I still think I've got lots. So I'm going to see if I can wing it to Colnura. Seems a little bit stupid considering there's petrol here, but hey, after all, it is an adventure.
I made Colnura and used 9.94 litres, for 294 kilometres. The total fuel tank capacity for the Honda is 12.5 litres, which has been expanded over the previous model. So it's fair to say that fuel range is about 360 kilometres. Probably more when you consider it was carrying me at 115 kilograms with gear, and I was heavy-handed with the throttle for long periods of the ride. This is a great fuel range for an entry-level adventure bike for Australian conditions, and a key feature and benefit of this bike. I've just got back from the 400 Ks on the bike and had a little bit of a rest, and now, while everything is fresh in my mind, I thought we'd go over some of my observations. So the first one I'd like to talk about is ergos. Yes, the bike is a smaller bike than what I've been used to riding lately. You know, I've been riding basically 700 twins and 700 singles, but that doesn't mean it's not comfortable. So when I get on this bike, the seated position, I felt initially that my knee was a little bit high, but actually as I got into the riding today, I found that very comfortable. So the foot peg to seat height, I'm happy with that. The same thing with the handlebar to seat, I'm comfortable with that. I guess what was apparent for me is the standing position. The standing position for me was just a little bit too cramped. You know, I could bend my legs to take on, you know, obstacles and that, but it's just not sustainable. What I need is 3 centimetre bar risers and maybe the handlebars themselves to be higher. But apart from that, I mean, I sat on the bike or stood on the bike all day today. Solid days riding of the Blacktop and the Twin Trail, and you know, the bike went well. Another thing in terms of the comfort of the bike is the fairing. The fairing punches the wind right over the top of my helmet. Great at highway speed, but didn't get in the way when I'm going over erosion mounds. I never ever thought that the top of the fairing would hit me in the face or in the chest or in the neck. So it's an ample distance, if you like, from the handlebars forward. The other great feature of the fairing is that its mount. I mean, it's built like a bridge, and a great place for mounting GPS or a phone or whatever you like. The LCD display can be read in all lighting conditions, even when covered with a liberal coating of dust. As well as all the old favourites, it also displays gear position, stopwatch, current fuel mileage, average fuel mileage and instant fuel consumption. The ABS on-off switch to the rear wheel is located to the upper right of the display. The bike must be stopped to deactivate the ABS. Compared to recent ABS systems that I've tested, the Honda's ABS feels primitive and not confidence-inspiring. ABS systems have developed substantially in recent years, and this feels like old technology.
Oh, that's interesting. Now that was interesting. The ABS front really wasn't giving me as much as what I wanted.
The low and high beam headlights on the bike were pretty good and could certainly get me safely out of the bush on a dark night. Blinkers and brake tail light were bright, and a great visibility feature was the constant illumination of both front blinkers. A neat little toolbox under the left-hand side of the seat was also a useful feature.
This is a very sensible thing for Australian conditions. Look at this very sturdy metal bracket over the side stand switch. There's been a few bikes I know very recently where the side stand switches have been broken just by hitting a rock. That's a good bit by Honda, well thought out. The side stand itself, I've got to say, is about, I don't know, an inch too short, and the bike leans too much. I noticed in the slow motion with this spring on the side stand that under those big whoops that the side stand flops down and pops back up. It's not too much of a drama, but I just make you aware of it, that's all. Like this, excellent.
folding tip on the gear lever. That's a nice addition. The Nissan rear brake lacked feel and required a considerable pressure to activate when compared to the front brake. The rear brake lever is made from mild steel and can easily be bent back into shape. The front brake has excellent feel and is powerful, but as previously stated, the ABS wasn't happy braking heavily in sandy surfaces. Now there's something that's caught me out a few times. On most bikes I've ridden, the blinker is above the horn. I found myself tooting Clubby all the time during our first ride. Dirty great big horn button, which is great. It's just something I have to get used to, but it's quite funny. Yeah, those are swapped around on other bikes that I ride. I call these spaghetti bars because they're very easily bent, but the good point is that if they're easily bent, you can easily bend them back. Yeah, I don't see that as too much of an issue. I mean, if you want to put better bars on it, then you put better bars on it. I think for me, standing on the bike, I felt a little bit cramped. I would like to see a 3 centimetre bar riser on there, and I still think I'll need higher bars that would just kick that up a little bit for me to make the standing position more comfortable. But again, these are things of personalising the bike. No, I didn't drop the bike in the garage. I just wanted to have a look at this protection for the engine sump, and it's a couple of mil thick plastic. And clearly for Australian conditions, when you start getting in the rocks and that, it's just not sufficient. But hey, the great thing is, because of the way the frame is, there's a great number of mounting points there for a decent bash plate. My fear is that if you use this in tough rocky conditions, in some of the places I ride, your oil bolt here just sits proud, and that would possibly be hit by a rock as you slide over a rock. Even the sump itself, if you just get one of those gnarly rocks, it could potentially punch up and punch through the crankcase. But, you know, again, this is a modification depending on your use of the bike. Is it necessary for most riders? No, it's not. But if you're going to take it in rough conditions, in rocky conditions, then I'd strongly recommend a bash plate. And there's tons of mounting points there for it. The engine is a willing performer, with significant increases in power being developed between 6,000 and 8,000 revs. The power delivery is well matched to the gearing, allowing for the rider to confidently take on a range of terrains and traffic conditions, be it moving slowly around obstacles or effortlessly moving through and along with suburban traffic. Out in the bush, and the gearing perfectly matched the power delivery of the engine. There was a willingness for the bike to get going, and it could easily maintain fast trail speeds. A highlight and strength of the bike for Australian adventure riding conditions is the Overdrive 6th. The bike can sit on highway speeds of 110 km per hour all day at about 6,800 revs. The engine doesn't feel like it's under strain or over revving, and there is no unpleasant vibration transmitted to the rider. The slipper clutch is another great strength of the bike. It is very light to feel, but the take-up point is clear and power can be confidently and consistently put on the ground. A highlight for me was the use of the clutch through some technical trails where power delivery had to be metered out in subtle bursts. The CRF's clutch performance reminded me very much of another motorcycle worth 3 times the CRF's value. Servicing intervals for the engine are 12,000 kilometres, which is ideal if you want to go on a big adventure trip. There is little doubt more performance could be gained from this engine through some modifications and aftermarket accessories. At the end of the day, Honda manufactured this bike to comply with various laws, and they've delivered a very usable engine for adventure. Suspension is too soft for heavier riders and better suited for riders of around 70 kilograms or less. When you include all my riding gear, it takes my total weight to over 115 kilograms. But despite my weight, I could push the bike at reasonable speed through the trails using riding techniques that take the load off the bike's suspension, and this reduced the frequency of bottoming out. When the bike did bottom out, on most occasions the stroke didn't end with a thud. There's no point talking about compression and rebound settings, as with the exception of rear spring preload, there is no adjustment in either the forks or the rear shock. However, for novice riders and or lighter riders, or riders that don't ride fast trail speeds, or just want to use this bike to putt down country roads and commute to work, I'm not sure the softness of the suspension will be an issue. However, for those that want to enjoy the full potential of this bike's handling, there are stacks of aftermarket suspension solutions out there. The steering geometry of the bike is great, providing high-speed stability and low-speed agility. It has a predictable feel both on the dirt at speed and on the road. The 21-inch front and 18-inch rear wheel is a solid and proven combination for a dirt-oriented motorcycle. And the standard dual sport tyres did their job. You'll recall my first impression of this bike was bouncing up and down on the soft suspension, but I immediately qualified that by recognising this bike's potential to be a hardcore adventure mount. The CRF300 has solid foundations for tough Australian adventure. Solid engine performance, dirt orientation, long fuel range, rider comfort for those long high-speed miles due to the high-speed overdrive 6th and great fairing. It's got high ground clearance, low seat height, and of course Honda reliability. So it's very tempting to attempt to turn the little Honda into the ultimate small adventure mount. So let's count the cost of what it takes to get this bike over the line for me. Frankly, I was surprised by how little I had to spend to get the bike over that threshold. Suspension needs work, and most of my money would go there, and I would assume that spending around $1,000 would give me good improvements for my weight and proposed use. Specialist suspension components could take this up to a couple of grand, but I don't think it needs it. The frame is an older design, which is great because it allows for easy fitting of a bash plate and soft pannier racks, and they're readily available on the market. Bar risers and handlebars with a higher bar bend, and bark busters and a foam oil filter would just about satisfy me. I'm happy with engine performance, but there's a lot of tinkerers out there who would have a lightweight performance exhaust on their shopping list. So I'd walk out of the Honda shop having spent around 9 grand, and I'd finish my build of this bike having spent an additional 2. Knowing what I know now about this bike, this is great value for my personalised adventure slayer. There's not too many offerings in the dirt-oriented small capacity adventure market, and Honda have seized this opportunity to refine their pre-existing 250 model, and they've come out swinging. They've extended the stroke of the engine to give it close to 300 cc's capacity. They've reduced weight of the bike by 4 kilograms. They've given it longer travel suspension and higher ground clearance. And they've revised the steering geometry to improve all-terrain handling and agility. They've given it an LCD display and a superb slipper clutch. As a result, they are only millimetres away from creating something special in the entry-level adventure market, where generally novice riders who are price sensitive make their first purchase. And there's value to be had with this bike, being able to roll it out of the showroom floor for around $9,000 on road. But what stops this great little bike from being stellar brilliant is bean counters, not engineers. Honda engineers could give this bike a cracking suspension package that matched the power delivery and handling of the bike to allow it to reach its full adventure potential. But that costs money and drags the price point away from the many. But don't get me wrong, this is a cracking bike. It is a true dual sporter in every sense of the word. A capable commuter with high-speed comfort and a trailblazer on the weekends. Straight off the showroom floor, it is an ideal adventure mount for riders wanting a taste of adventure but not wanting to go hardcore. It will appeal to a surprisingly broad range of riders, from the novice through to the experienced adventurer who sees its true potential that with slight modification would be a solid round-the-worlder and capable of taking you anywhere.
Very incestuous here, taking a picture of Clubby, taking a picture of my favourite shot.
It is you, isn't it? It's a trademark.
It's a trademark. Now there's an interesting bit of history here. The last time I did that on this road was with my 2017 KTM 640.
2017, I don't think so. It was
Oh,
older than that,
God.
wasn't it?
Sorry, dimensions.
That came out of
crept
the
in.
arc, that bike, mate. I think
At
you mean
2000
19 and 17, don't you?
Was it 2007?
7, I think you'll
Oh
find.
my goodness.
That's
Oh,
it.
there's a bit of dementia creeping in there.
It is a while ago.
It looks, the colours look brilliant.
Oh, this thing does, doesn't it? But it's like I was saying before earlier, Dave. You just wish it was a 450cc version.
Yeah,
Like, I had that 450L
yeah,
with ADB magazine a couple of years ago for 12 months. Put
Yeah.
a big tank on it, put luggage racks on it, mate. Did everything, you know, but never got a screen on it and never got real big fuel capacity on it, you know. It's like that bike there, that tank's nearly just under 13 litres now, which is better than the old 250 by 2 point something litres.
yeah.
But all that acres, the acres of plastic and bodywork,
Eh.
it's just all hot air underneath behind there. Like the tank could be bigger again. But mate, it looks the part. It's priced perfectly, isn't it? Like it's under $9,000 on the road right away
Yeah,
for an adventure bike that people will not be intimidated by, and work the suspension. That's the only area where it really lacks to go hard off-road, doesn't it? Is in this fork and the shock. Spend some money on that, maybe a muffler just to uncork it a fraction. Away you go. And it won't scare. You can pick it up when you drop it. You can turn it round in the middle of the sticks anywhere. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for this bike.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm absolutely 100%. I think this is a killer. This is a great bike.
Well,
with
it's got pole position right now for this corner of the market. The
Yeah.
Yamaha's gone,
yeah.
you know, and what else is close to it? The three.
No. The KTM390 is, you know, a little bit more road oriented. This kind of fills that niche of the people that want to hit the dirt more.
Well, you know, they want a trail bike, a traditional 250 trail bike. Like it's fine to ride in the traffic, commuting. You know, you're up high, you've got good vision, you've got great fuel range now. Look, it ticks so many boxes, doesn't it? And it's so close to being that small bore sort of, you know, 250, 300 adventure bike we all want, except for those of us that want the 450 or 500 single cylinder adventure bike with all the Dakar styling, the tower, a bit of protection and a big fuel tank. Yeah, it's like beating a dead horse. Why does no one builds a 450 Rally replica, do they?
I don't understand.
It's a KTM, the RR KTM, but what is it, $55,000, $60,000?
Nah.
Man, it's like this thing's so close, just shoehorn that L motor into it, but now the L's gone. Where's the 450L?
We need.
It's gone, it's in hyperspace.
I don't know how many times we have to slam our foot in the ground and carry on like a kid. Just all we want, manufacturers, is a 500 single, 450, 500 single.
Exactly like that bike, with those details on it. Just a bigger motor and boost the suspension. That's all it needs to be.
And a 10,000 kilometre service interval.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that might be a big ask for the current generations of 450, 500 singles that
Yeah.
are coming from CRFs, WRFs, EXEs,
Yeah.
those base motors. But, I mean, look, yeah. But, you know, I still come back to saying, Dave, why does no manufacturer build that bike and plonk it on the showroom floor and just see what happens? Like, if it works in Aussie, it'll work in America. May not work in Europe, but hey, we're prime markets for adventure bikes, Australia and America.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't they do it? It'll be the great unknown that we'll all carry to our graves.
Well, there's the end of Controversy Corner for the week. And there's our beautiful little Honda, and now I think I've got to go and do some work. It's a tough job.